for joining us today. My name is Miss Greenleaf, and this is the 5th grade band. We are super glad that you could come out and join us today because we've been working very hard since September to learn how to manipulate these weird pieces of plastic and metal to create music, which is very cool and also very complicated. So for me, I think this concert can be kind of like a learning experience for you guys. We're going to show you what we've done since September. And we started off with one of our most simplistic songs, Mary Had a Little Lamb, which is really only 3 notes. We continued with Cross Buns, and then a song called Go Tell on Rhodie. Each one of these instrumentalists actually only have band every other day in the schedule, so we don't even meet every day, and we have one musical lesson per cycle. So with only every other day, basically, we're able to learn almost 25 pieces of music in only a few months, so we're super excited to show you this. But we're going to play a song that's going to introduce you to the 3. I'm going to play one more song before we introduce you to each style of instruments. We actually have 3 different types of instruments here. We have brass instruments, woodwind instruments, and percussion instruments. And a little later, we'll have them all actually play a solo for you so you can really hear and see all the different sounds we have in our group. So the first song we'll play is a song called Lightly Row, which is one of our longer songs in the book. And then we'll follow up by a song called Listen to Our Sections. We have a woodwind family, which includes saxophones, flutes, and clarinets, and a brass family that includes trombones, trumpets, and French horns. So that's kind of a unique song for us to kind of showcase each style of instrument. So far, we're still only playing songs that have 5 notes in them. It's crazy to think how many songs you can play with only 5 notes. So we're going to move on and get a little bit more complex and also add a little holiday spirit with our next 2 songs. First will be Jingle Bells, and the next will be My Dreydl. And these songs are a little bit longer, they're getting a little more complex, we're playing different rhythms, we're trying to breathe in between notes and not during rests, and this also happens to be some of our favorite songs, of course, Jingle Bells, so we hope you enjoy. popular children's song, but this is our first song actually that is a duet. A duet is when there's two lines of music going on at the same time. And it creates what we call harmony. So far, we've only been playing in unison, meaning every instrument is playing the same note and creating one sound. But most music has harmony in it, and this is our first step of harmony by playing a duet. The coolest part about this is they don't even know what part they're playing until right now. This is London Bridge Duet. A. B. Similar notes, but a little different harmony, is a round. And a round is when one group of instruments starts the song, and another group of instruments waits a few measures and then jumps in on the song, and it creates a really cool harmony. This is used very often in like row, row, row your boat. If you started singing row, row, row your boat, I can start singing row, row your boat after, and it creates kind of a cool sound. So this is a song called Frere Jaques. It's also commonly known as Are You Sleeping in English? It's actually a French folk song lullaby. And you'll hear actually the same song, but almost like in a layer, and it creates some really fun harmony. So this is Frere Jaques. One, two. Thank you. All right, so we're moving up here in our knowledge. We're starting to play some different types of rhythms, including faster rhythms and eighth notes, which we heard in that last song. When we get to page 13 in our book, we start to have what we call band arrangements. This is what you hear if you've ever heard, any of the 6th, 7th, 8th grade high school band. We always play band arrangements, where different instruments actually have different parts, and together it creates one cool song. I mean, this is how music works all over the place, right? You have a drum set, guitar, and a vocalist. It would be kind of ugh if they always played the same thing. We need different sounds from different instruments to create excitement in music. So the next song I'm going to play seems like a simplistic song, Old McDonald Had a Band, but it is one of our first songs in which we actually have different parts going on at the same time. So if you have a chance, I know they're way back there, but our trombone family in the back, they have actually a different part, a bass line. That's what their low instrument is for. And it helps the band have like a full, big sound, and we get all the parts we need to create such a cool song. So this is Old McDonald Had a Band. Thank you. I think you can tell we kind of like that one. This is one of my favorite parts of this first concert, where we get to actually play instrument solos. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain a little bit about each instrument, and maybe you'll learn something about your student's instrument, or maybe you'll learn something about a different instrument. And what we'll do is we'll have each instrument group stand and play their solo for you, and then we'll move down the groups of instruments. So we're going to start with the highest speaking instrument in the band, the flute. Go ahead, stand up, guys. Pick up your stand. The flute is actually a woodwind instrument, though if you look at it, go ahead, show your flutes, guys. It's not made of wood. But back in the old days, when the flute was originally invented, it was made of wood. Now we make them out of metal because it's much louder and much more durable. So it will last through weather and everything like that. The flute is a very pretty instrument. It's used in all types of music, and it is a high-speaking instrument because it is so small. So the smaller the instrument, the higher it sounds. The bigger the instrument, the lower it sounds. So we'll kind of make our way back to our biggest instrument in a little bit. The flute is a unique instrument because it is one of the only instruments where the mouthpiece does not go in or on your mouth. It actually sits below your lip. If you've ever taken a bottle and blown air through it and get like that kind of whoo sound, that's actually exactly how the flute works. It's actually the splitting of the airstream that creates the sound. And it gives it like a kind of a soft-ish sound, but it's totally fine because we have 39 flutes here, so I think you'll be able to hear it. Okay? They're going to play a song for you that I think you'll recognize. It's called a Mozart Melody, but it is more popularly known as Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. next to the flute, but actually just wider in diameter, is the clarinet. Go ahead and stand up, clarinets. The clarinet is also a woodwind instrument. Many professional clarinets are made out of wood. Our clarinets are made out of plastic for the same reason, durability, and it's a little less, susceptible to weather and things like that. But the thing about the clarinet is it is a woodwind instrument mostly because it uses a reed to make the sound. So guys, will you turn your clarinet, show them the reed. So it's a little piece of wood, actually, believe it or not, that is shaved down and flattened. And when you blow your air across the mouthpiece, the reed actually vibrates like this and creates the sound, which is why it's called a woodwind instrument. Believe it or not, I actually grew up in town and I played in the 5th grade band and I chose the clarinet. So this is like super cool for me to see students doing the same thing I did when I was young. I just love it. It's like my favorite part about this. So the clarinet's actually going to play a song for you that's in the low register of the instrument. The clarinet can play very, very low and also extremely high. Believe it or not, the clarinet can play as high as the flute and as low as the saxophone. It's like a really cool in-between instrument. So we're going to showcase some of the low sounds, which happen to be my favorite, sounds of the clarinet. And they're going to play a song called Down by the Station. The saxophone. Go ahead and stand up, saxophones. There are actually multiple types of saxophone. We are all playing on the alto saxophone currently. The alto saxophone is the most popular of the saxophones, and it is like a good fit size-wise for our 5th graders. We do actually, in 6th and 7th grade, we actually add some of the larger saxophones into our bands, which is very exciting. But for now, we're sticking to the alto. You might be thinking to yourself that those instruments, guys, show them the instruments, guys, look very much like the brass instruments, like the trumpet or the French horn over here, and that's true. The saxophone is actually made out of the same metal that a brass instrument is, but just like the clarinet, it has a reed. Go ahead, show them your reed. The reed is what produces the sound, so therefore it is a woodwind instrument. Believe it or not, the saxophone is the youngest instrument in the band. It was only invented in the late 1800s, whereas many of our other instruments were invented in the 1600s or earlier. We kind of consider the saxophone a hybrid instrument, kind of the chameleon of the band. It can play with the brass and fit in well, or it can play with the woodwinds and fit in well. So it's a very cool instrument to kind of make all of our instruments speak well together. So the saxophones are going to play a song for you called Doodle All Day. The bell of the instrument looks large, but the rest of it is actually quite small. Go ahead, show them your trumpets, guys. Okay, so the tubing itself is like very thin in this way, much thinner than the French horn or the trombone, which we'll see in a second. The trumpet only has 3 valves, but there are many more than 3 notes. And what happens on a brass instrument is you actually have to use lip and muscle strength to produce higher and lower pitches. The buttons only go halfway. The rest of it is actually muscle strength, which is why it's so important for instrumentalists to practice on a regular basis. We actually need to build the muscles in our face in order for us to play high sounds. It's just like if you wanted to run a marathon, you wouldn't just go out and go for it. You have to train your muscles so that you can last that long. The same thing is true here. We train our muscles so we can play longer, we can play higher, and we can play more sounds. So, the trumpet also is like a very old instrument. They think they found trumpets in the Egyptian tombs. It is definitely a popular instrument, even in like the holiday season, the trumpet. And they're going to play for you a song called Skip to My Beat. Prettiest. It is so twirly and so beautiful, and it's also used as like holiday decorations sometimes, those kind of twirly boards. The French horn is an extremely popular and old instrument. It is used in all the famous movie musics you can ever imagine. This famous composer named John Williams, who wrote Star Wars and Indiana Jones and E.T. and Jurassic Park, he loves the French horn, and it is used all the time in his movie music. So if you ever listen to the beginning of Star Wars, it's them. And then joined by the trumpet, so kind of a cool instrument. Weirdly enough, this is one of a unique instrument because one, the bell of the instrument actually faces behind them. So can you hold your instrument up like you were playing? And not only that, but they actually put their hand inside the instrument, which is kind of weird, but very unique and very cool. The hand in the instrument actually helps the sound of the French horn come out a little bit more because it's so backwards, it faces the wrong direction. What I love about the French horn, it has a very warm, round tone, which is really nice, with the trumpet that has a little bit of a brighter sound. So together, we create like a nice, beautiful brass tone. The French horn is a tricky instrument. The mouthpiece is tiny. The mouthpiece is actually much smaller than the trumpet, which means that even a small movement of the face can change the sound. It's really unique, but very cool and very popular. So the French horn is going to play a French lullaby for you called Claire De La Lune. They're one of our only instruments that plays in what we call the bass clef, meaning the lowest sounding instruments. And in order to make 39 flutes sound great, we need to have that low sound to balance them out. So we are lucky to have our 9 trombonists here to play for you. If you would just give them a show of your trombone, guys. You might notice there are no buttons on the trombone. It is a unique instrument because it uses something called a slide. Will you show them the slide? in my opinion, the slide is like why the trombone is so worth it. It's definitely one of the coolest ways to create sound. And I'm gonna have to play something for you. You'll probably recognize it. Here you go. Big huge air. Ready? Yeah, that's what the trombone is made for. Okay, so the other cool thing you might have recognized from the trombone is the sound that goes wah 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 wah. That's also the trombone. Okay, it's cool because you can actually move between pitches, unlike like a piano or a flute where you push a button to create a sound. Each like centimeter of a move of the slide can give you different kind of tone quality for each note, which is cool, but it does make it a little tricky. This trombone section to memorize how far they let their hand go out to play different notes, which is really kind of cool, but very fun. Okay, so the trombones are going to play a song for you called Camptown Races. To show you our percussion family. Currently, our percussionists are playing all mallet instruments. Will you guys show them your mallets for me? They can't pick up their instruments, they're a little too heavy to show you, but the mallet instruments are actually just set up like a piano, but instead of using our fingers to push the buttons, we actually use mallets to hit the bar, and the bar will ring. These are all made out of metal, they're bell sets, but we do have a variety of mallet instruments that we can play in class, like the xylophone and the marimba. Eventually, as we progress our knowledge, we actually start to add drums and auxiliary percussion to the section. So snare drums, from here Mr. Al will play some drums later, triangle and shakers and stuff like that. So that's where our percussion section starts to add some very unique sounds to our group. The percussionists are going to play actually one of my favorite songs. This is a very popular song that's used in like TV commercials all the time. It's called Morning from the Pure Gynt Suite, and like the instant carnation breakfast commercial uses this. I swear, it's like very common in like a lot of breakfast commercials because it's supposed to depict the morning. So the percussionist will play Morning. One, two, three. Bars at the right time, and it's really hard often for mallet players to play together, so I'm so impressed with how together you play that solo, guys. Very well done. So that completes our full sections of all of our band, and we hope you learned maybe a snippet or something about maybe your student's instrument or a different instrument. Maybe you guys learned something. How cool would that be? You can even learn on the day before break. Imagine that. We have a couple more songs to play for you. We're going to play a couple of holiday tunes, and then we'll kind of close with some of our most favorite songs. So the next two songs we'll hear are Jolly Old St. Nicholas and Up on a Housetop. These are more complex songs. We're using harder rhythms, more notes. We're up to 7 notes now, going on our way to 8 different notes. Again, we have some players playing slightly different parts, which is tricky, but makes the song kind of work. So Here is Jolly Old St. Nicholas and Up on a Housetop. Music has been around since humans have been around, and you know, it's important for us to learn the history of music. So we've been playing a lot of folk songs and some popular songs, but this song is actually a famous composed song by a guy named Ludwig van Beethoven. You may have heard of him. He actually wrote 9 symphonies. Symphonies are at least almost an hour long each, and he was very famous for all his writing. He wrote for symphony orchestra, which includes strings and winds, but this song actually was written for strings, winds, and chorus. It's called Ode to Joy, and it has lyrics that go along with it. We're going to play this for you as our second to last song. We saved our favorite for last. But what we want to do is dedicate this to you all for showing up today. We really appreciate it. And what we want to say is thank you so much, and we hope you have a joyful holiday. So this is for you, your Ode to Joy. Songs. It's a great way for them to perform maybe for family who are coming into town or something like that, but the more they play at home, the better. We do encourage the students practice, even over break, why not? There's lots of stuff in the book they can try to play, lots of new songs. They know the information now to kind of try and do that. So definitely remember to take your instruments home today. Don't leave them here if you can help it. But it also, you know, kind of is so cool when I hear that parents and siblings actually ask for my students to play for them. That's the best thing. We play music so that other people can hear it. Oh, us too, but other people. So we want to actually encourage you to listen to them. Why not? It might sound squeaky at first, but the more they do it, the better they'll get. So you can help them with that as well. Last thing I'll say is I did send out an email reminder, but students are going to head right back to class. They've got a little bit more learning to do, and they have to get to lunch and recess. So the students are going to head right to the band room. If for some reason you need to dismiss your student, you must walk around to the office and use the normal dismissal protocol. I know that's kind of a bummer, but it is the only way we can make sure that our students are safe and that we know where they are. Okay, so please, do your best to do that. On their way out, they can give you a little bit of a wave and stuff like that. That's cool, and say hello, but they gotta keep going and get to their next area. Okay, so I really, really appreciate your help with that. And again, appreciate you taking some time. I know many of you had to take off work to come here. It's really awesome. We love playing for a full audience, so we could not have done it without you. So my band friends, can we thank our audience? Can you give them a round of applause? Okay, we're going to play our last song for you. This is our favorite song, and it's going to actually use the help of my assistant director, Mr. Albro, who's in the back. I literally could not teach this class without Mr. Albro's help. You might notice there's over 100 students on the stage, and it is a lot for one teacher, so I'm so fortunate to have Mr. Albro in class every day with me to help our students be successful. So thank you so much, Mr. Albro, for that. We are also very lucky because Mr. Ahern is a very good percussionist and drum set player, and he's going to back us up while we play our favorite rock tune. This is called Hard Rock Blues. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2.